I'm Fletcher Brown with another artist video blog here at Kicks96country.com. Our guest today from Nashville, Tennessee, by way of, well, let's just say she's transatlantic from across the pond. Please welcome for the very first time in Kicks Country, Caitlin Mae. How are you, Caitlin?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, now your bio just says that you're from the UK, but the UK is a pretty big place. So where specifically in the UK?
I'm actually from South Wales in the UK.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess you could say country was a little hard to pursue
Really?
for the most part.
Okay.
But it is the fastest growing genre in the UK right now and beyond.
I've actually heard that. Audiences, in Europe have actually really kind of hipped into the country music scene, old and new for that matter. We've had a number of artists that have popped over here from like Ireland and places that have started careers as country music performers. So how did you, Caitlin, in South Wales, how did you find country music?
So I'm curious as to whether I always would have found my way to country music, because I think it's something that is in your heart. Mm-hmm. It's just born there. But I always say that when I was 2 years old, my parents bought a holiday home in Florida, and we would travel there at least once a year, and it was kind of our tradition to spend Christmas there.
Oh, okay.
And you'd get in the car and you'd turn on the radio and you would hear a lot of country, and I didn't even really know there was a name for it at the time, that it was something that I was going to want to do for the rest of my life. And it turns out that it was, and I think that's really where my passion for it was born, or at least where I was first exposed.
Okay. Do you have any, like, going back to those years, do you have any, like, favorites? Like, who were some of your favorite artists, before you became one?
It's really hard because I was so little when we first started going there, and then up until maybe 15 when my parents decided to sell the property, which broke my heart, but everything happens for a reason. But some of my favorites, maybe when I first took to the stage and then learned to play guitar, and were probably Carrie Underwood, Miranda Lambert, Maren Morris. Obviously, you love like your Dolly Parton and Shania Twains of the world. So there was really a mixture, but people always ask me if it was an influence that kind of came from my parents, and it really wasn't. They got into country because I wanted to do that. Oh,
okay. So you led mom and dad into country. Like they didn't really have the background in the country, but you brought them to it. So and the family is pretty supportive of this, right?
So supportive. I couldn't have done any of this without them. And now the strangest part is that I have made the move to Nashville, and they are still in the UK. They're still in Wales, and in the house that I grew up in, the only house I've ever lived in until I decided to move 4,000 miles away and realized I don't even know how to use the washing machine. Oh, okay. I'll just buy new clothes. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Well, okay. So you have officially made the move to Nashville, though, right? How long have you been living in Nashville?
It's been official since January, so it's really new. I had to fly back to the UK, to London actually, and go to the embassy and get my visa stamped and approved officially, because it gets approved and you're notified, online through your lawyers. And then there is still this anticipation where you have to hold your breath, because you could go to the embassy and they could turn you down. There's probably no reason for them to do that, but you still feel like you're walking on eggshells until the moment where you get the last yes, and it's all official, and you don't have to jump through any more hoops. And it is kind of a scary process when you feel like your life is rooted in a place that you weren't born in, and so you can't just uproot your life back home and move there. It would cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I wish it was that easy. But sometimes I think you go through hard things to realize you can do hard things, and moving here has been my biggest blessing and my biggest challenge, being so far away from the people that I love and I've always had by my side.
Well, you've fallen into pretty good company, I think, in the Nashville area. You recording your current project in two of like the most well-known studios in the Nashville area. Talk to us a little bit about this project that you've been working on, and you even co-produced it. Am I right? Is that right? You're a co-producer on that?
Yeah.
That's kind of a big deal.
I'm really excited, and some of these possibilities I didn't even know would come my way, or especially not come my way so soon. But landing in Nashville exactly when I did feels like it was God's plan and it was meant to be. The people that I met and the doors that opened just all happened at the right time. I think initially I was going to go to Belmont University. I wanted to move to Nashville, and everybody kept saying, just apply to Belmont and go to Belmont. And I was like, I didn't think I was going to go to university or go back to school, because my schooling experience kind of towards the end was not great. Especially back home, being a country singer-songwriter and just being different to all my peers. It definitely didn't lead to a whole lot of friendships. But I did want to be in Nashville so bad that I took everybody's advice and I said, I'm just going to apply. And then I realized it's a lot more than just applying. First of all, you have to get all of your grades transcribed, because the grading system is so different.
Oh yeah.
In the UK and the US.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So first of all, I had to do that, which all of this was additional cost to you. And then I got in, and I thought that would be it. You get in, you go. But no, if you're going to do music, and if you're going to do the commercial vocal major, which is what I wanted to do, you then had to audition. So there's like a whole nother layer to that. And you had to do commercial and classical. And I'm not a classical singer, but I am vocally trained, and I have a coach back in the UK and now a coach in Nashville. So I was like, oh, it's, it can't be that different. It is different. It is very different. But it was so worth it. And I did get in, and I was like, this is meant to be. So then I realized the part that I'd been pushing aside was how much money that was going to cost. I was going to have to rob multiple banks.
Yes.
It was going to be
we've all been there.
The heist of a lifetime. And
yeah, real Ocean's 11 stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And so I started fundraising, and all of my shows, I would put like a tip bucket out, which that doesn't happen in the UK, but I would call it a Nashville night. You wear your cowboy hat and your cowboy boots, and you put a tip in the jar, and maybe at the end of it, I go to college.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it sounds to me like you've had quite an experience as far as transitioning from life in the UK and performing in the UK to here in Nashville.
Yeah.
So you moved here from South Wales. You're making a go of it in Nashville at Belmont University. You've got a brand new single, Mr. Moving On, that, as I understand it, that was actually inspired, that song you wrote, it was inspired by a real-life cowboy that you met?
Yes. Yeah.
Here or in Wales?
Here.
Oh, just making sure. I don't want to assume that there are no Welsh cowboys.
I'm
right?
sure there are.
There probably are.
Somewhere. But yeah, I don't want to say it was an unfortunate meeting, because thanks to him, I wrote a lot of songs. But I'm always very honest, whether I really think that through or not, but I have never dated. And so when I met this cowboy, I had never dated. And that's not usually a conversation that you have, although it seems to come up a lot when I'm talking about my music, because I think people must listen to my music and think, wow, she's been on a lot of bad dates. But no, it's either just this cowboy or Netflix. That is it. Like, so I kind of feel bad for him, because he didn't know what he was getting into. And
he had no idea that he was going to fuel the first leg of your American country music career.
Yes.
He had no idea.
I feel like, everyone says that it was one song in particular that changed their life, or really started, the rest of their dream, And I really feel like this could be the song. And then I feel like I have to send him a note thanking him, but also apologizing. Yeah. It's not like I've named him, but I just feel a little bad. You know what?
Just send him a box of chocolates with a note that says sorry. That's it. That's all you have to do.
But thanks.
All right. Well, Mr. Moving On, tell us about the song itself. And I've heard the song. It's got tempo. It's clearly about a relationship that didn't end great. But what is the story there in the song?
So when I was writing my quote for the press release, I I think I talked a little bit about how, despite the fact that this was born of fact, this was something that did happen, a person that I met, it is laced with fiction because I wrote so many songs about the truth, like nothing but the truth. And then I felt as though it would be cool to put myself in somebody's shoes who did fall in love and did fall for the act. And so I decided to do that when it came to Mr. Moving On. And so the girl in this song talks about how she realized she loved him too late.
Oh.
And by the time she realized that, he'd already fallen out of love. Because I think in a lot of relationships, one person tries so hard, whether that's because they're just madly in love or whether they're trying to make the other person feel comfortable enough to trust them. And eventually putting in 90% gets old. You can't always put in 90% while someone else is putting in 10. And I really wanted to write a song from the perspective where I blamed myself and I felt like there were things I could have done to change the outcome.
Wow. That's mind-blowing. It's like you completely changed the perspective of your real lived experience and created another compelling story, kind of like from a different side. That's fascinating.
Thank you. It was so much fun to write, and there could come a day where that happens, where I feel like I just didn't admit my feelings to myself, and then subsequently to my future partner, which in my head doesn't exist because music. I'm too focused.
She's married to her music.
Yeah.
Guys, get that through your head. All right, so Mr. Moving On is the single. If you want to hear it, make sure you call us at Kicks 96. We've got it. We'll be happy to play it for you. Caitlin, if somebody has heard your story and they're like, man, I've got to know as much about this young lady as I can possibly learn and hear more music, where do they go to look for you on the internet?
You can find me at Caitlin Mae Music. That's across all social media. And then all music platforms is Caitlin Mae. It's Caitlin. And then Mae, M-A-E. There are a million ways to spell Caitlin, and Mae, no one ever expects it to be with an E.
All right. Make sure you look at the bottom of this video for links to her website and social media, and look elsewhere on our YouTube channel in our artist video blog section for a live performance from Caitlin Mae. We're going to get her to play a song for us before she leaves the studio. But Caitlin, I wanted to tell you, first of all, since you've only been here less than a year, welcome to America.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to country music.
Thank you.
And welcome to Kicks Country.
Thank you. It feels like home.
All right. Well, from Muscle Shoals, Alabama to Nashville, all the way to Wales in the UK, I'm Fletch Brown. Caitlin Mae is our guest. If you want to hear the song, call us. We'll play it for you. And we'll see you next time on another artist video blog, Kicks96country.com.